next tune is Manteca. Manteca is used for tamales when you, oh sorry, wrong convention. Alright, so this tune is written in the 50s, and it was made famous by a famous percussionist named Chano Polzo, who played in Dizzy Gillespie's big band, international big band. And this tune was like sort of doing the old school big band and featuring the new, which was in New York at the time, was the big mambo bands, the bands that were led by Tito Puente and Machito and so forth. So what I'm trying to do on this tune, and what I'm trying to preach is keep it that old school salsa, old school mambo feel to dance. So it's got to have a dance feel throughout, including when it goes to the samba, which samba translates to dance to the belly button, which is what they do down in Brazil. So the whole time, the three most important things are keeping the Latin vocabulary as far as fills, meaning do not play like a rock style fill, and try to stay away from the jazz triplet feel on this. The second thing is when you play the samba, make sure that it's a samba feel and not some sort of quasi-Latin. So you want to make a big difference on that. And the last thing is dynamics on this one. This one's actually recorded with some dynamics, and there's written dynamics in this one from pianissimo all the way to fortissimo. So those are the three major components on this one. There's two different ways that I like to coach students on this one. There's the modern songo, which is a little different than what they did back in the day. So I'm going to play, and that one to me is a little easier to teach a younger student. So say you have like a 9th or 10th grader who's just learning how to play the instrument. I feel that this style, I'm going to play first before I play with that, is a lot easier to teach than the second style that I'll talk about here in a second. So here's the songo feel. I'll play about 4 bars of it. That's the songo feel, and that will work. It follows the bass line, it follows the melody, and it fits the 2/3 clave that this is written in. Now the one that I'm doing is a little bit more advanced, and that's been made famous by Elvin Jones, and it's called the Elvin Jones Mambo. And it sounds similar to, which is traditional, like cascara and campana patterns from the traditional mambo and swing bands from the 50s. And those are the two that I really like for this piece. Now I've heard people play sambas, I've heard people play cumbias, I've heard people play all that. You have to stick to what the music says. It's vocabulary. So it starts off in a salsa feel, and it reminds you on the second half of the chart to stay on the salsa feel. So, for instance, I will on this take, I'm going to play a little bit of the songo feel as well as the Elvin's mambo, just so you can get a feel for it. Now, so I've had students ask, can I play both of them? I suggested, since it's so short, I suggest that you either do one or the other, the Elvin mambo or the traditional songo. So here is Manteca. Thank you. So kind, everyone's so kind. Is there any questions on that, style-wise? Yes, sir.
How would you go about teaching that to a new student who's not familiar with that style, like the song will be?
The song will be, I got it from the Steve Houghton book. And what I do is I just teach it to him on that Steve Houghton book. There's a track of just like congas and bass. So he can just play it until he's blue in the face in the practice room. But I also have this amazing slowdown, which is an app on my phone that it'll slow it all the way down. So where it goes down to quarter note equals like 40. So he's actually physically playing it real slow, and then just speed it up. And then when you get to the chart, no fills. Just play time all the way through it. Don't stop. And then eventually he gets the coordination there, and then you start to say, okay, here's the first phrase. First phrase is stop here, follow the melody this way, hit this cymbal on a long sound, hit this drum on a short sound, and so forth. That's the process I've had success with. And I try to start that at a young age, because not only is that going to help him with this music, that's really going to help him for what's the most important thing, which is your bands back at home. That's the most important thing. That's the first thing I love to talk about when I teach this. I'm extremely passionate about making a young musician, a young drummer into a young musician, not just through the all-state jazz process, but through the process of playing an instrument and approaching it like a musical instrument, not just something that you're going to hit again, like a trash can or so forth. Good question. Any other questions?
Regarding independence, do you do limbs separately and then integrate them, or from the start do you
Absolutely.
do the whole?
I do lower body, upper body. Lower body is what they don't usually use, and just for like tapping their foot.
Right.
When they start off in 6th grade or when they get to high school, they're marking time. And their hands are usually quick. So usually the feet is what usually shuts down, which are a little bit out of control. So for instance, and I'll do this real quick because I have a little bit of time. For instance, a very simple exercise like an 8 on a hand, a legato stroke, whatever your drum line uses at home. I'll do the same thing with their hands and then their feet. So. So that they get used to, so there's stuff that they're used to doing, and I always put it, to me, like with technology the way it is, and we're here in 2016, I do not use a metronome anymore. Because that doesn't really show anyone how to do the internal clock. The internal clock is what I talk to my students about there's a little drummer that lives inside you right here, your chest, your heart, that keeps your body pumping time all the way throughout. I talk about that, it's in the internal clock. So what I do is I take away the click track or the metronome, the McAdams or whatever it is, and I put some sort of track to it. Whether it be a techno track or anything like that. I mean, I do that with my drum line at home. We don't play anymore to just a click track, a Lone Ranger. I play with like a techno dance, and I have kids that are extremely creative that'll go and create tracks that are mixed meter to fit what we're doing. And it also gives them the creativity to like want to do this even more. So to me, I'm over just the boop, 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 boop. That's just me. Any other questions on this? Manteca? Yes, sir.
One more time. Would you mind playing it one more time?
You want to play one more time? Sure. Thank you. Something that I get asked a lot on this is like, a lot of the young kids will ask me, I want to play like more fills, and I want to do more chops, and I like that. And it's really cool that they're inspired to do that, but what you have to do is encourage them that what the role of a drum set player is. And that less is always more, and that keeping the band together is the most important thing. And then from there, you can build your vocabulary into whatever it is that you want. And I've had the privilege of judging this contest several times at the state level, and I've heard some really fine young musicians that have lots of chops, but not so much the chops of keeping the band together. And that's one thing that I like talking about. I mean, I don't do a lot of fills. I mean, I can if I need to, but I try to keep it simple, and I try to keep it tasty. And like I said earlier, this is a dance tune. If you're not moving in your seat when you're playing, and your little drummer inside here doesn't feel it, your audience is not going to feel it. That's a huge thing that Wynn Marsalis taught me back in the 1900s when I got to play a gig with him. Yeah. Any other questions on that before we move on to the last?